All right, so let's talk about this problem basically in detail. So just look at this diagram and see what is the structure telling us in this case. And this is not the commonmost DevOps item structure. You can have your own structures which are different. Uh, I'll take a minute to explain that structure first. In this case, what we are doing here, so the whole these blocks which you are seeing here are different types of work items we have in DevOps. So E2E, or by the way, we are talking about finance and operation or Dynamics 365 FO. So which, as per the latest Microsoft business process catalog, Microsoft is using more the terms like E2E for epic level, process area for feature level, and then process and scenario for what we used to previously call user story level. That's why you see in this hierarchical tree, I'm not using epic feature and user story, rather the E2E process area and the process and the scenario at that level. Other levels, as you see here, this task group level and these configuration DM tasks, gap tasks, they are the levels which are not default come as DevOps. But I mean, as per your project requirements, you can add. So this is what I've done in my project. I mean, the concept is simple that everything which is more on the kind of a requirement or the scope side, I've added that on the left side of this separator, and everything which is more on the execution side, they are added on the right side. And one of the other differentiation here is that if you know about DevOps structure, um, basically the way it works, that it has four levels to it. So one is that called kind of epic level, which is completely on the top. One is kind of and then and that level, epic and features, they belong to. Then one is the backlog level, which is this level, which powers the board screen, a few other screens as well. And one is the task level. So this is the task level. So you can imagine it like this, that these four are sitting on the task level, process and scenario and task group are sitting on backlog level, and then at E2E and the process area are sitting on the top level, essentially. So yeah, so if you have this kind of a hierarchy, so the common challenge with this hierarchy is that whatever is a parent child, you already have a very good traceability scene using different screens of DevOps, right? But if you're making, and sorry, before I go on, if I just add that here, that parent-child relationship is basically always one to many, as you can see, because one parent can have multiple childs, but every child can have only one parent, right? So it is always one to many relationship. But on the contrary, if this blue lines in this diagram, if you see, they are many to many relationships, and they do happen in most of the projects. So you will have situations where you're, I mean, I'm using the terms which you guys normally are accustomed of hearing, that user stories, which I'm calling process and scenarios, they might be having many to many relationship with your build or delivery items, like as many like imagine that you are configuring the accounts payable module, right? So your user story could be like create a purchase order or create a purchase requisition, and the scenarios could be create a purchase order with this quantity, with single line, or create a purchase order with multiple lines. These could be your user stories or scenarios or process of scenarios, right? But in order to achieve that, you might have number of different configuration items you might want to configure. You might have number of data migration tasks which will have to make sure they are done correctly, right? Gap task is more like customization task, and this gray task is more like generic task which you might need to do for to achieve your delivery. So at a given time, while you're configuring the solution for finance and operation, you will always have like number of different configuration, data migration or customization or generic tasks, which will be, when you do all those activities, they will achieve you one or many different user stories or process and scenarios. So how do you do that? So you can't basically make these items on the right side as a child of the processing scenario in most cases, right? So you will always have to group them differently and group your stories or processes differently, and then have a separate link established between those two levels, right? Just like this blue line is showing. And that link, you can easily imagine, will be many to many, right? So this is the problem we are trying to resolve here, essentially. All right, so we were talking about this concept, and I wanted to show you how this structure looks like in DevOps. So if I switch over to DevOps, and this is DevOps, right? So I'll not go into like too much details, but this is how it is. Like you can see, this is a backlog screen if you're interested. And in backlog screen, this is that E2E structure, which have got here on the top. And under E2E, you see all these process areas added. Like, for example, this is general ledger. General ledger will have a few of these processes: start of account, accrual schemes processing, financial dimensions. Some of them have some scenarios added, and these ones. And then all of after all of these processes and scenarios, all the delivery items, as I call it, are underneath this thing, which is called task group. And underneath this task group, you see like many of configuration type items added, and then some of the data migration type items added as well. If general ledger is not a good example, I might show it to you. Let's say accounts payable area. So in accounts payable process area, we have got some accounts payable processes, and underneath that, there is a delivery item kind of a group, task group, call it. It has configuration, data migration, and other types of, actually, this one has no other type. So yeah, so this is the concept, right? So if you go back to this diagram, so this is how this is achieved. Now, the issue, as you can see here, is that these items, which are child of this task group, might have a interrelationship with these processes and scenarios, and you're not able to see that, although under like they are related, like they're related using the related type, not the parent child type. If I show you any of them, for example, if I open this one, so you see in the related sections they are related with some items, but that is not easily shown. In DevOps, you can achieve that. So I've got a couple of queries. So for example, I've already opened this query for you. So the query type, if you're interested, is this one, work item and direct links. In that one, the logic is simple. That on the top level, I'm saying that show me everything which is work item type is equal to process. And on the bottom level, I'm saying that show me everything which is either a task or a configuration or a gap task or a DM task or a question, as you can see all of them here. And I'm saying show me only which are related types. I've only checkboxed this option here. So this is giving me the results like this, right? So like all of the processes are shown on the top, and then underneath that, whatever items are linked, I'm able to see that here, right? Which is pretty much achieving my objective. But sometimes a few people have, like some of the customers I've dealt with, they're not fully 100% comfortable with this view only. They want a matrix kind of a view in which you rather see that in this format. If I show you this Excel file, that in this Excel file, what is happening, the configuration items are listed here, DM items are listed here, and then on the top dimension, all the process are listed. And then there is this mapping, which is basically showing which process is linked with which configuration item. I mean, you can change the filter. This is showing you GL. You can say, show me for AP. So this is showing for AP. So how do we achieve this? So this is obviously, as you can see, this is not easily achievable directly in the standard DevOps view. So you will need to do a few things to achieve this. So that's what I'm going to show you in this video. So let's go back uh, to DevOps. So first thing, you need to make sure that you have a query created like this, right? So which has whatever items you want to see uh, uh, shown as a parent. Well, not exactly as a parent, but as a top level item. You select that uh, work item type on the top, and whatever items you want to see as a linked item, you select that to be shown on the bottom, just exactly like what I have done, right? I've done the similar thing for another one as well. So if I show you another query, so I've got this one is saying process versus delivery items, and this one is saying scenario versus delivery items. So if I show you this one, so it's doing the same thing, but the difference is that now the top level are the scenarios and the bottom levels uh, are the other delivery type items, right? And some of them are totally empty as well because they don't have any linkages essentially, right? So so as you can see, this one I've already achieved. So I will show you how the same thing is achieved on a scenario so that you see how the process has worked. So first thing, as I said, you need to go into uh, DevOps and create this view, or sorry, query, not view, of this type. So that's the first step. Now, step two, you go back to any Excel. In this case, I'll use the same Excel. Actually, I'm thinking that I'll achieve the similar thing for you. That will be easier. So I will actually open something from the scratch. So let's open a new Excel file, right? And then in this new Excel file, you need to have, by the way, if you're not aware, you need to have this Teams tab shown. How is this Teams tab shown? You need to have an Excel extension of which I think it is called Azure DevOps connector or something like that. You need to install that. So then you will see this tab. So over there, you click new list. New list will let you connect to the project which you are connecting. Uh, After connecting, it will ask you for selecting the query which you have saved in DevOps. So in this case, I will select this one because I'm going back to recreating what I've done in process. And you can see the whole hierarchy of all the queries are shown. So you go to your query which you're after. Sorry, I've selected the wrong query. This one. Wait for a few seconds. It will bring all the work items like this, right? Now, you notice one thing here. In this view, although your query was more like a hierarchical query from the visual side of things. Sorry, this is the wrong query. I'm talking about this query, process query. So this is more like hierarchy, right? But when you export this in Excel, or you can say open this whole thing in Excel, this is showing like a flat item, flat query, I mean, right? So you see every field is shown, but it's not showing what is top or what is bottom, right? So you can't change that behavior. That's a standard DevOps behavior. But what you can do within this structure, you can do a few things to achieve what you want. Uh, and you can't achieve that, like if you pivot table, which I've done in the other Excel sheet which I showed you. If you pivot within that flat structure, you will not be able to achieve that, right? So you will need to add a few fields. So that's what we will do now in the new Excel, I mean. So this is the new Excel already, right? So select Control A or manually select all the rows. I have selected that already. So what I will do, uh, I'll go to the data tab, select get data. I'll go to other sources and I will say table range. So what we are going to do here, we are going to open a Power Query editor, basically, right? So click this. So this will open up a totally new window. Sounds more like a Power BI window. Let it load. So it will load your data. All that, those rows which you selected in Excel, that flat structure, that will be loaded here. And what you're going to do once it is loaded, you will have to add extra columns where you will try to achieve the structure within the flat structure, which can do the pivoting for you. Okay, sorry. Yeah, so now the rows are already loaded. So what you need to do, you need to add extra columns, right? So you see on the top, there is this add column tab. Go to there, click custom column. Okay, so now this is where you're adding that custom column. You give it a name. Maybe we will call it linked process ID, right? And here you need to write that formula. So this is your formula. Click OK. It will add that column. Let it give it some time. It will add that column. Takes a few seconds. The screen will look a little bit distorted. So this column is added on the right side. Now, so this is at the moment, this is just pulling the IDs against the rows which has process. But you need to have this. So what you're essentially doing, if I show you in the comparison, if I drag this column to the left side, and whenever you do this, this takes a bit of time. It loads the view. So give it a few seconds. I'm just trying to drag this column to the left so that you exactly understand what is happening here. This is Power Query window, and Power Query window a little bit is laggy as compared to your normal Excel. You need to have your PC resources a little bit either bumped up or use a different PC while you're doing this. I am talking about this column. Sorry, I was confused. Yeah, so this column, if you see what has happened, um, for every row which has process work item type, right? So it has copied this, the ID, which was the original ID, into this field. As you see here, 32223 and 3222, sorry, 34223, right? Same here with this row as well, 34224 and 34224. But what you actually want, you don't want these nulls here. All of these nulls have to go, because what you want essentially that all of these rows should also have the same ID 34423, so that we are able to pivot on the basis of that. So what you're going to do, you need to select this column again, go to transform, and then there's a fill toggle here. You click this and then you say down. So this will do this job for you. And this is the main thing which this Power Query window is achieving for you, which you were not, it was like too much tricky to be doing this in Excel. Okay, so this has achieved for this column, but ideally I want the titles essentially, right? So what I will do, I will go back to the add column. I will add another title, another column, I mean. I will give it a name, call it linked process name. And I will give the formula to it. And then formula, you can pause the video to basically copy it if you want. Essentially, I mean, formula is very simple. I'm saying basically it's checking wherever the work item type is processed, then whatever is there in the title field, copy it there, right? That's what the formula is. And same I did with the ID as well. Click OK. It will add that column. This time we will not do that extra effort of moving the column to the left, because it always by default adds the column to the right hand side. You can do that if you want. In this case, we will not do that. We will simply now go back to the transform tab and then click fill down. So it will fill those names here. Give it a few seconds. Okay, now it is filled. So now our objective is pretty much achieved in terms of how we want the data to be looking like. All you need to do is to just go back to the Home tab and say close and load. Give it a few seconds. It will basically add a new sheet, just like it did here. And this sheet is basically what you're after to do your pivoting. Now you simply select all and insert pivot. When you do pivot, you can give it a proper name. I have not given a proper name here. And so this is essentially what you're after. So what you need to do, you need to maybe select the work item type here. I would add, I've got a module field as well, so I will put that in the filter. I will say, uh, give me the titles here. I will say, give me the new fields I've added, the link process name here, and I will say the IDs as the values. And of course, I don't want the sums, I want the count, so that I just, because all I'm after is just a mapping, right? So, and yeah, one other thing I do just to make it look better, uh, I go to format cell, show that as vertical, right? And just to further make it look a little bit better, I select this and then drag it a little bit like this, so that it's shown closer to each other, right? And then, of course, you can do some further formatting improvements as well. For example, I generally don't like this view. I go and go do this thing or maybe this thing, right? And so, I mean, so yeah, so you pretty much have achieved what you wanted. That traceability matrix you have achieved. You can, let's say, apply a filter of show me everything related to AP, right? So this is your AP. Show me everything related to AR. This is AR. So yeah, so you have achieved that traceability which you were after in a matrix format, which is a little bit better from a usability point of view, because now you don't have to go into each and every, like if you're, when this traceability matrix was not there, you were left with playing with this kind of a view, which has its own benefit. Like you can, as much as you stay within DevOps, you're able to go to the actual tickets. So of course, that benefit you're not getting here, but at least the traceability side of it in a better visual format, you're getting it. So yeah, that was a little trick I would use whenever I have to achieve within the out of the box tools without doing any like complex customization or adding any extension. So you can achieve that. Yeah, so that was the quick trick. Thank you.